Bioware's Anthem is finally here. After a 6-year-long development, the once grand storytellers deliver an experience that's fun and has its moments, but is ultimately a disappointing, frustrating game that didn't learn from the failures of its predecessors. The first thing you'll notice about Anthem is its amazing visuals. This is one of the best looking games out right now, and its stellar graphics go hand in hand with its good sense of scope. Traversing through giant ruins, forests, and oceans all populated with wildlife both friendly and hostile is an absolute joy, especially with this game's flying mechanics. The main city is also pretty nice looking. It feels like there's so much going on and the world feels so populated and alive. The NPC interactions leave a little to be desired because they're all pretty much the same, but I can applaud the effort. The cutscenes in this game are also very, very well done. The facial animations are pretty great in these cutscenes. However, outside of these, the facial animations and the voice acting are not great. And that's what I would say is the weakest part of Anthem's presentation. My goodness, some of this voice acting is downright awful. Oh, damn. You bastard. It also doesn't help that some of the dialogue is unbearably cheesy, but it's not all bad. The main character is voiced pretty well, and there is some fun banter between your character and the NPCs.
Why are you always stirring up trouble?
What are you talking about? I've just done her a massive favor. You've got no idea how boring it is being a Fort Cypher. She does not get to work with a freelancer. She does not get to see the world through the eyes of a javelin pilot. No. You know what she gets to do? She gets to relay official messages back and forth to ciphers at the capital day after day after day.
Some people like boring. Not everyone's cut out to be a freelancer.
So you have said. But you have to admit that last mission would have gone better with a partner.
I have a partner. You. Every good javelin pilot needs a cipher.
That is not what I meant. Look, if I had a suit of my own, I could be out there in the field with you.
Call down your boosters, Hotshot. With more training, you'll get your chance, I promise.
Although, those interactions do border on expedition dump at times.
Hey there. I figured you'd make your way to me soon enough. You're the new freelancer I've been hearing about.
Only the good parts.
Oh, it's all good. The fact that anybody's talking about a freelancer is more than just a job. Name's Prospero. About pride. I'm betting you're the one I've been waiting for.
Yeah?
Pride
Why's
in your
that?
javelin. You understand being freelance is more than just a job. Intolerable. It's about pride. Charge into a fight. I figured you'd make your way to me soon enough. Pride in your javelin. You're the new freelancer. Not when you can pay.
Only the good parts.
I figured you'd make your way to me soon enough. You're the new freelancer. Anybody's saying this about
Only the good
freelancers.
parts.
Not when you can pay. Name's Prospero. Steal the fact that everybody's talking about a
Yeah,
freelancer.
why's that?
State name's Prospero. Something special. You're the one I've been waiting for.
Yeah?
Pride is what I do. Understand being freelance is not a
Hasn't been much of that.
they buy something special for their javelin. Hasn't been well custom. Pride can't even build your body.
Hasn't been much of that.
Not when you can charge into a fight. Hasn't been thunder comes to life. Forge can example. A fistful of hands. Someone like us to collect jail storm. Steal the line comes to life. I'm back here. A fistful of hands takes emperor. When that's you how to save guts to collect something special.
Anthem's music is just fine, nothing too memorable, but it's good enough to make the game's combat and exploration fun. The HUD is really clean. I like how information is conveyed in ways that aren't too intrusive to the overall gameplay. Overall, Anthem gives us a solid world that's fun to explore and is absolutely beautiful to look at. Its shortcomings when it comes to voice acting don't really take away from how hard Bioware nailed this game's presentation. Shooting, and more shooting is what you're going to be doing for 95% of the time while you're playing Anthem, and let me tell you that the shooting feels great. The guns have a nice feel to them, they sound really good, and they feel like they're real meaty. The third-person perspective really suits the game's exosuit gameplay more than I thought it would. Jumping and flying around is honestly really fun, and it feels like you're Iron Man blasting fools all day. It's the most fun I've had in a looter shooter since probably the first Destiny. However, it pains me to say that the enemy AI is fucking horrendous. Okay. Okay, I don't know what kills them. You good? Oh, 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 oh. Alright. This poor fucking dude is just frozen. God damn, dude. It just fucked him up. They don't take cover, they're not proactive at all, most of them just run at you and die. It makes solid gunplay mechanics absolutely worthless if the game doesn't challenge you in interesting ways. Setting the difficulty to hard only makes them dumb bullet sponges that do more damage to you. It doesn't help that the mission design is boring. It uses the same tired old design that Destiny did. Go here, defend this area from waves of enemies. Go here, defend this area from waves of enemies. Rinse, repeat. There's very little variation here, and oftentimes this game teases you with awesome encounters or boss fights that you think you're going to fight just for the game to pull the rug out from under you by just showing you the encounter. Man, this character that I don't even know is just so great. Oh, I thought this was going to be like a boss battle or something, but nope, they just killed it on a cutscene. You know, I wish we could actually like fight these things instead of have them being killed in a cutscene. That's twice now that this happened. You know, instead of showing the player how cool they are, it might be a good idea to show them how cool they can be by, you know, letting them play the encounter out.
One of our best, Freelancer Adams, led the charge as the Enclave leapt to meet the Dominion forces head on. My Johnny says the army was massive. The Dominion was led by Dr. Harkin, a man never seen before or after that day.
Furthermore, grouping for these boring missions is a huge pain in the ass. The tethering really sucks. It's like the game is punishing you for grouping up. One player will run ahead without saying anything and make the others sit through various loading screens until they catch up. It's really annoying every time it happens. The gun variety in this game is also shockingly bare bones. There's a huge lack of interesting weapons or worthwhile loot. I feel like every MMO looter shooter has this problem. Destiny, The Division, and now Anthem. You would think that Bioware would learn from these mistakes, but no. If anything, Anthem is the worst offender when it comes to interesting weapon design. The lack of loot in general is a huge problem. It honestly feels like there are 10 types of guns and 10 types of armors. For a game that took 6 years to develop, that's frankly embarrassing. The enemy variety is severely lacking. You fight the same 5 enemy types over and over again, and with AI this bad, it just turns combat into a chore eventually. The combo system is cool, but I wish that the game cared at all about explaining it. With all the tutorial pop-ups in this game, you think they'd do a better job of explaining a pretty big reason to cooperate with other players. I know that every reviewer and their mother is talking about the game's loading screens, but good lord, this game's loading screens are awful. They're intrusive on gameplay, they're very frequent, and worst of all, they're boring. Just the same old, hey, here's a hint for you, kind of loading screens. God forbid you make the loading screens that riddle your game interesting. Overall, Anthem's gunplay is great. It's a lot of fun to jump, dash, and shoot around, but its horrendous AI, god-awful mission design, shit-tier loot, terrible endgame, and incredibly boring story make Anthem's fun gunplay completely irrelevant. Honestly, 75% of Anthem is just boring. Lots of time wasting, shit mission design, waiting, tethering, terrible endgame. The game is just a slog to get through, and it has a tremendously boring story to top it off. I was going to write a whole section of this review for Anthem's story, but it's so hilariously unmemorable that I'm not even going to bother. It feels like Bioware just didn't learn from past looter shooter MMOs. All of these AAA games make the same mistakes. They release a half-baked game with a launch plan to make it better. These companies don't give a shit about first impressions anymore. They want to hook potential whales as soon as possible, so they spend money and keep the game afloat. Anthem is yet another example of a company that just wants to get in on the games as a service hype train before it inevitably derails because of lack of quality. Who knows, maybe Anthem will be great in a year or two. For now, I would recommend that you don't buy this game. Its beautiful visuals and fun gunplay are two shining diamonds in what's a giant pile of mediocre shit.